Hi everybody, this is me Ashmeeta and I'm so happy and glad you're watching this video. This is the very first edition of Soul Sessions and I just wanted to quickly pop in and talk about the reason why I'm doing this. The reason why I'm doing this is because I know that a lot of you out there are committed to your personal growth journey. You're committed to becoming a better version of yourself every day. So I wanted to create a space where I call in subject matter experts from different fields so we can together explore their mind space, learn from their journey, receive some juicy secrets and high value insights and apply them in our lives right away. So, in today's session, we are exploring how positivity can actually be extremely damaging. And if that interests you and intrigues you, and you want to learn what authentic positivity is, then continue watching. I'm sure that you'll receive a lot of high value insights. So, go right ahead. So today we have a very special guest with us, Vidisha Kaushal, who is a coach of life transformation. She's worked with thousands of coaches and students across the globe. She's one of the best coaches in India, and I'm so happy and privileged to have her here today. She's one of my coaches as well. How long have you been in the coaching industry, in the field of coaching? Because I remember that you started off really early. Yes. When no one in this country ever knew what coaching really is and whether that's an option to them. I think now people are getting more aware, but the time that you started, no one really knew about it, and you were from a corporate background.
Yes.
So what was it like taking a plunge from the corporate background into this beautiful field of coaching when you had nothing backing you up? What drove you further?
I love the way you have described it, because that's exactly how it was. Nobody even knew the word coaching. The only coaching people knew was sports coaching. And that was typically the example I would use to help someone understand what a coach does. And in India especially, it was at the nascent stages. I think I was very, very early on. I was a coach in 2009. So it's been a good 10 years of being a coach. And yes, I worked in the corporate world for 13 years. I was managing learning and development for some of the biggest corporate giants that you can think of. It's been such an amazing journey with coaching in the corporate field as well as out of it. And yes, it's been fabulous watching what has happened to the coaching world also. How it has just become mainstream. How people are today talking about getting coaching done for children. And when we say coaching, we're talking about life coaching. So it's been absolutely beautiful to see that.
Yeah, so you're a teacher of life transformation, right? So I just want you to talk a little bit about that. Like, what kind of work do you do? What is your philosophy that you'd like to bring to this world? What is this one message that you want to share with the world?
Yeah, so a lot of my work, I specialize in being a life transformation coach. So there are various kinds of coaches that, as you might know. And I specialize in transformation because I think that has been my path. And whatever is your path, people come to you for that. That's when you come from a space of conviction. And so life transformation is my very core. I do this through a number of workshops that I lead. Some of them are digital, some are live, as well as some select clients, some coaches, trainers and teachers that I work with. And that is one-on-one consulting, but I work with very select clients, only those who are truly ready to take that plunge. So that's how I work. I'm of course certified in a number of modalities, and I'm experienced. I carry years and years of experience in working with individuals, with teachers, with trainers and coaches from various walks of life. You asked a very beautiful question, what is my philosophy? And because it's been so many years and I have the benefit of having experimented and having worked on my own life and having worked with my clients, I think today if you ask me, what do I stand for? I stand for authentic positivity. And when I say authentic positivity, often I get the question, what is that? We've heard of positivity, we've heard of positive thinking, but what is really authentic positivity? Now, on one end of the spectrum, you have people who are compulsively led by their mind, so not in control of the mind. A lot of the thoughts that go through them on a daily basis are negative thoughts. So it's all about doom and gloom and what's going wrong with my life and feeling a sense of victimhood, feeling victimized by their circumstances. And they are genuinely living in that energy of victimhood. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who have discovered New Age spirituality or philosophy and who are playing with things like the law of attraction and at a certain point really high and saying, okay, I'm going to use affirmations, I'm going to use visualization. And what I've seen is that oftentimes the second category comes back to the first category because it is half-baked. It is sometimes very inauthentic positivity. It is superimposed on what is actually going on inside of them. Now, what I stand for is literally the path of saying, if I take away all my blocks, if I take away the pain that I have acquired, if I take away all the baggage that I have acquired, I am left with the essence of who I am, my core, which is beautiful. And that's the kind of authentic positivity that I stand for.
Yeah.
And that's my message to everyone, that work on yourself. Of course, work on positive thinking, but be authentic. You don't need to brush away your emotions. You don't need to deny what is happening in your life. You don't need to just sort of ignore the struggles of your life, the challenges of your life. In fact, the challenges of your life could be the greatest gift that you have, and the greatest gift that you bring to your audiences. So authenticity by itself will lead you to positivity. You don't have to acquire it.
Yeah, agreed. So I want to go back to what you said, that there is this group of people who are, into this loop of negative thinking, and it has become a very normal behavior for them. Like they might not even recognize that they're doing that, and they are thinking negatively or they're criticizing themselves throughout the day. So about those people, where do you think they can start from if they are coming to a realization but they are not very fond of this new age spiritual stuff that is going on there, affirmations and law of attraction? Because at times it confuses you a lot. You're very confused about how to use it and what to do with it. So people are just starting off and they're just beginning to realize that there is a need for change. Where do they start from?
I think it all begins with awareness. The first step really for anybody is to step into awareness. And when you step into awareness, you would have to step into honest awareness. Not what it should be, but what is.
Yeah.
What has been happening in my life so far? What are the repeated challenges that keep coming into my life? What are the repeated patterns that are occurring? Who are the kind of people that I'm repeatedly drawing into my life, or the kind of so-called difficulties that seem to be coming again and again and again into my life? Now that is a treasure by itself. If you can catch hold of that, then it leads you to what is the pattern of your life. As you get aware of what is the pattern of your life, automatically you shift into an energy where you say, now I want to do something about it. But as a first step, you got to look at what is really going on, and you got to look at it honestly. So that would be the first step.
Agreed with that, but a lot of times people message me often and they talk about the blocks that they have and the patterns that they have and keep repeating on and on, and they're focused on it so much, focused on their blocks, their patterns so much that they're just stuck there. They're not able to get out of it. They don't know what exactly to do about it. After that, they say that they work with someone for it, but usually they get stuck. Like they are aware of the pattern, they recognize that there is certain blocks in them, but they don't know what to do about it. And this recognition and awareness itself sometimes I feel leads to a block for them, because they continue to go into that loop of recognizing, okay, I have this block, that block, and this needs healing, that needs healing. Where does this stop, or where does this start?
So I love this part because I call this the awareness loop. So while awareness is the first step, it becomes a problem for folks who are stuck at that stage only. So you're aware, it's been a year, you're watching your patterns, you're still aware, yet you're not doing anything about it. Now that becomes a problem, because clearly it's like being stuck in kindergarten and refusing to move into class 1. So obviously you're dissatisfied, obviously you're wondering where life is going. Now I would look at two ways out for people. One, of course, is get help. Ask for help. There is so much available today. Never ever earlier have we had such a treasure, such a wealth of information, knowledge, wisdom being so easily shared. I mean, we're sitting in India, a country that's known for its heritage, its spiritual heritage. But once upon a time, you had to travel to the Himalayas, you had to sit at the feet of a master, and you had to receive this guidance, which is so easily available today. So people like you and me, we have coaches, we work with teachers, we work with our own catalysts, and they help us, they hold space for us as we go through this transformation. Now, a coach also will help you stay accountable for what you're doing. Because when you're on your own, you have your peaks and then you have your dips and then you wonder what to do. You're on track and then you fall off track. So that's number one. That would be the most preferred option. Find help, work with somebody. Today you can work digitally with people. You don't even have to be present in the same part of the world. You could just find somebody that you truly resonate with. Yeah? For example, I know you do some great work. So if I were a person looking for something and I resonate with what you're doing, I have help available. I could look you up and work with you to help myself. But I'm also aware there is a second category of people who, for whatever reasons, are not yet able to invest money into themselves.
Yeah. That is the one thing that I feel is that they don't think that they deserve to invest money in themselves, or this is an option for them. And I know that this is because they've never been taught to invest in their emotional health, their mental health. They did not even know that this option exists for them. They somewhere doubt whether it is right for them or whether to deserve it or not. So deservability issues come. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I love the question because I come from a path where I had deservability issues. So the category that you're talking about, many years ago, I was that. I was a person who thought she was not worthy of investing on herself, not worthy of having a coach, not worthy of my own time. I was a person who was constantly putting other people before myself. So I can completely get it, which is why I said for whatever reasons, there are people who will not invest on themselves. So for them, this is what I have to say. First things first, there are so many free resources available today. If you were just to, for example, follow Ashmeeta or follow me or follow somebody else, you will get a wealth of help available at no cost. But then comes the loop. If I have an unworthiness issue, then I'm not even going to think I'm worthy of that 1 hour for myself every day. I'm going to have a variety of reasons available for why it can't happen.
Another thing that I want to talk about is that they have a lot of these people have this thought that there must be something terribly wrong with their lives to go to a coach or an external person. Therapy is another topic, we won't even go there, but to even get some help for their emotions, there needs to be something very wrong with them.
And I'm glad you've asked that question. I'm again going to go back to my life. I was one of those people. I was one of those people who had learnt very early on in life to control my emotions. I came from a way of thinking which thought that emotions are a weakness, and to be able to control, which largely means suppression, if you're able to control your emotions, then you're a strong person, then you're a winner. And this was my pattern right from childhood, because right in my childhood I learned that if I behave in an angry way, I'm going to get disapproval. And I, as that little child, was aching for approval from the adults around me. So if that is you, if that is the person who is listening to us, then I get you completely. Because what happened with me, I must share that, is that this game of controlling my emotions carried on for the longest time that I knew. Till one fine morning, I wake up, I'm trying to brush my teeth, I'm trying to spit, and something feels funny. I walk up to my mother and I say, there's something funny going on, my face, there's something feeling numb. And she's a doctor, she's a medical doctor. So she asked me to do a couple of things. As I did it, she tells me, go see a neurologist right now. I reach the neurologist and I'm told I have Bells Palsy. That's a form of facial paralysis. I was put on to steroids, And as I was put onto steroids, I started experiencing severe side effects for those steroids. And I was desperate. I was swimming in self-pity. I was at the height of victimhood, where I was thinking everything is going wrong with my life. I was managing learning and development communications back then, so my voice, my way of speaking was my bread and butter. And already my speech was slurred with the Bells Palsy. My eyelids were blinking at 2 different rates. That's how it was. So I was desperate, and I blessed that desperateness. Because of it, I started searching for alternate help. And that's when I came across the work of a beautiful person called Louise Hay. And in Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, there is a list of diseases and a list of the emotional patterns that could have caused it. So I look up Bells Palsy, and guess what I see there? It says extreme control over stress and anger. And that was like a ton of bricks that landed on my head. From there began my journey to recognize that your emotions cannot be suppressed. That suppression is going to show up as financial scarcity in your life. That suppression is going to show up as diseases in your life. That suppression is going to show up in every area of your life. You can run as long as you want to, it's going to catch up. So for all those people who think coaching is, oh my God, don't wait for Bell's Palsy to happen to you. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Coaching is very similar to sports coaching. Let's say you are at point A and you want to be at point B in your life. And this could be in any area of your life. Coaching is the journey that you undertake to move from point A to point B. You could be somebody perfectly healthy, having a rocking life, and still go for coaching. You could be somebody having some concerns, issues in life, and coaching is still a beautiful avenue for you to explore. It is very different from therapy. It is very different from counseling. And I'm glad you're asking this question, because when I became a coach, people didn't know what coaching was. Today, through this medium, I hope we're spreading some awareness about what coaching truly is. And so everybody needs a coach. Everybody who wants to succeed, everybody who wants to put their life together, everybody who wants to evolve requires a coach. You and me have coaches.
Agreed.
That's how it works.
Yes. And I think one of the purposes of this video is to spread that message that there is an option called coaching where people can actually go ahead and take this option to transform their lives or improve and grow in their lives. And growth is a very natural process. Right? And you can choose which way to go. You can choose the harder way or the easier way. It's totally up to you. I think we chose the harder way and we fell down to the grounds, and that's when we actually looked for options. We were desperate enough to do anything to get out of that situation. But does everyone needs to go through that to enter, to be open to this field?
So absolutely not. You don't have to wait for disaster to strike. You can actually work on yourself even if everything in your life is going amazingly well. I work with a lot of youngsters, teens, who are very different from the way the earlier generation was. Some of them are extremely clear about, this is where I am, and I don't want to be the typical person. I don't want to live the typical life. I want to be who I am. I want to progress as I am. How can you help me succeed? And how can I let go of the emotional overwhelm? How can I let go of the barriers that are stopping me? And so I work with them also. So you absolutely don't have to wait for disaster to strike. You could be somebody who's already doing really well, but your need for growth has to be there. I also want to touch upon the fact that not everybody is coaching ready. There are some of us who are addicted to our victimhood. And I hate to say this, but I was at one point. I was not ready for coaching. So when you're ready, you're going to find the perfect coach. The right resources are going to come your way. The universe will literally conspire to make the resources available to you.
That's amazing.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I think that happened with me also, with my journey. When I finally opened up to help and support, that is when it started coming in. And initially I received support from my friends online, on Facebook, and I got the right people to help me out. And then of course I met you, and that has impacted my life a lot over the years. And I know that this field of personal growth really gives me that high, and being able to love myself more than I've ever had. It's just a different feeling altogether. I'm constantly moving out of my comfort zone. I'm trying out new things, and the only reason I'm able to do that because I had a support to fall back on. It has become an integral part of my journey. As a coach, I have a coach. And I just want to go back to one thing that you said was about India being the spiritual heritage. So I want to also point out that we're also the sixth most depressed country in the world. We have the most number of cases for anxiety and bipolar disorders. Around 5 crore people are depressed in India and they have severe mental disorders. How do you think this has happened? Because from being a spiritual country, and people in fact come here, gain a lot of spiritual knowledge, wisdom to work with teachers, but we as Indians, I believe, somewhere lost our track. What has happened?
Like all your questions, I'm going to say I'm so glad you're asking this question because this has been brewing in India. This has been brewing. However, let me share what has been said of India many years ago was that whatever is true of this country, the opposite is also true of this great land. And that has always been the case with India because it is so diverse, because it is so complex in its structure. Now, I've lived in England, for example, for a long time, and diversity over there means diversity of color, diversity of your ethnic origin, and a few more criteria of diversity. In India, diversity means that if I move from one state to the other, the language changes, the food changes, the clothes change, the customs change. It is, I think, the most complex land in the whole world. And trust me, I traveled enough to say this with conviction. It's a very complex culture. So always we've had these contrasts exist within India, but not so much spiritually. Spiritually, we're seeing this happen now. I also think this was bound to happen because at the risk of being misunderstood, I'm going to touch upon this, that when we know too much, when we have too much information available and we are not being able to apply it in our day-to-day life, the result of that is that as a nation, we are growing in depression. As a nation, we are growing with anxiety because we have a wealth of information available, but practically, how many people do you know are actually applying it? Everybody I know can chant something from the religion to which they belong. But how many of them have grasped the core of it and applied it to their life? So I always say we're today truly in an age where we can afford to leverage the best from every culture. So when the West comes to India, they pick the very best. They don't pick up the dowry system, they don't pick up practices which don't benefit them. They pick up yoga, they pick up being vegetarian, they pick up the spiritual heritage. So why can't we lean on to the West and pick up some of the most beautiful practices from there? The sense of social courtesy, the sense of discipline. We could look into our own heritage, and that's where we need to begin.
Yeah, normalizing therapy.
Normalizing therapy, normalizing the need for asking for help, and not defining ourselves by suppression. I think as a nation, we have got into this endless loop of various kinds of suppression and distraction. Indians are more digital than anybody else I know, and the digital life has become an addiction. Everybody, right from the grassroots level, workers are addicted to their phones. And that's leading to a lot of disconnection between real life and what they're on to.
So, since you mentioned that, I also want to talk about news.
Yes.
So I see a lot of adults, my parents' age and my parents, of course, they're all addicted to news and watching politics and seeing what's going on, who said what. I just see it as a gossip ground. I just see someone said something about it's as good as Bollywood news. So what do you have to say about that? Because that's another thing that initiates a lot of negativity in people.
It can, yes, the kind of news. So I think the question is not only for India today, it's a question at a global level. If you're somebody who's living life consciously, you're going to be like a guard standing outside your mind. You get to decide what information goes in. You get to decide who passes through it. You get to decide how you want to start your day. But if you're a being who's unconscious, whichever part of the world you're in, then the way you live, the way you start your day, the kind of entertainment you consume, the kind of addictions that you have are all coming from an unconscious space. But yes, I do agree it is happening much more in India. Yeah, culturally we love drama.
Yeah.
We love emotions. Look at the kind of TV that people watch. Look at what sells. Yeah, Bollywood sells, and soap operas which are all about emotion sell. So as long as we're caught in that cycle of enjoying victimhood, enjoying the drama of human emotions and not feeling the need to outgrow it anywhere in the world, we got to come back to conscious ways of living. We got to ask ourselves, are we going to decide what enters us as information, as knowledge? Are we going to decide, or is our life going to be controlled by media? We need to think about it.
Yeah, though we love Bollywood.
We love Bollywood.
Bollywood.
We love Bollywood.
Yeah, but so here's a counter question to that. Now the fact is that news is reality, right? According to what is the facts and everything, it is what is happening in the world in India.
Yeah.
So what do we do? How do we maintain that balance between knowing the facts, knowing what is going on, and at the same time choosing to remain positive, or choosing to, create a world of your own?
So I think this is a very personal choice for everybody to make, and it is for them to decide where the fine line between being addicted ends.
Yeah.
If you're asking me how I go about it, I've been a very conscious consumer of information since more than 10 years, maybe even 12 years.
Yeah.
So my take on that is simple. What am I listening to? Is it an addictive loop of sensationalism? Because a lot of the news today, it is no longer news reading. It's more about discussion, which goes into endless drama. I stay away from that. So if I really want to, I will pick up either online, or I will listen to a channel which reads the news. Therefore, I'm aware,
Yeah.
but I'm not addicted. I'm not getting into that story. I'm not hooked onto the drama of what's happening.
So because you mentioned authentic positivity, I want to ask you, what does it mean to be authentically positive? Because a lot of times it seems like people who are just starting out in their spiritual journey, and they are getting to know about affirmations, attraction, manifestation. They are just about putting a wall ahead of them, saying that I'll be positive. And this is how it is. So where do we maintain a balance there in terms of our emotions, in terms of our thoughts? How do we maintain a balance?
Yeah. So it's a very fine balance, and it's a very important question to be raised today, because while we recognize the power of your mind is one of the most powerful tools that you have in this lifetime as a human being. And the kind of information you feed to the mind, that is the energy that you start emitting. And those are the experiences that you start attracting. Now that's one aspect of things. What about what I'm feeling within? Let's say I'm very angry. However, I try to do affirmations and I say, I am peace and calm. I am peace and calm. What is it that's coming up from my core? Sometimes within our core, the voice we hear says, rubbish. You're not peace and calm. You were horrible just a while ago with your child. You were really, really horrible. Now that's the inner voice, the inner dialogue that's going on. So a lot of practices such as affirmations are misunderstood. Affirmations are not just these words that you repeat constantly. They're also thoughts that you're thinking. So if the thought that you're emitting is that you're horrendous, you're horrible, you're a horrid mother, horrid father, then that's the affirmation, and that's what you're manifesting. So the fine line is, the authentic way to be positive is to be in acceptance of what is really going on inside of me. All right, I'm angry. Now, if I'm angry, do I have healthy ways to release this anger? Can I first release this anger? And when I'm on a neutral ground, then I start my practices such as affirmations. We understand that at the body level, don't we? Do we ever say, oh, somebody wanted to vomit and we tell the person, don't vomit, hold it, just affirm, I'm fine. How crazy would that be?
Yeah.
So we understand that at a physical level, but when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to our mind, we have double standards. So it's time to get aligned. It's time to understand that what is true of one sphere of life is also true of another sphere. So if you want to be authentic, recognize what is going on, have healthy ways of processing it, and then work with the law of attraction.
Yeah, I always believe that healing comes first before manifestation, before law of attraction.
Yes.
Before going into that direction, it's important to start your healing journey. It's important to release these stored emotions that we have.
Yes.
So I want you to talk a little bit more about the emotions that are stored within us and how do they harm us.
Yeah, I think my story itself is a beautiful illustration of how emotions which are stored up within us make a really, really big difference to our lives. Emotions are energy in motion. So when we say, okay, just forget about it, distract yourself, go shopping, or people go pubbing, or they could be shopping, or they could be doing affirmations, or they could be sitting and chanting something, that energy has been taken into yourselves. It has not gone anywhere. We forget about it and we assume that if we've forgotten about it, it's not alive. It is alive. It is there. It is just suppressed at a very deep level. So when we don't have healthy ways, and nobody's to blame for it, do you remember in school anybody teaching you how to handle emotions?
Never.
Do you remember at home ever being taught? In fact, we were taught it's bad to have this emotion, especially if the emotion feels unpleasant, such as anger.
Even crying.
Even crying. Don't cry. That's the first thing.
Yeah. Don't cry. Whenever I cry, everyone's like, oh, don't cry.
Don't cry.
And this time, like at this moment in time, I always tell them that, let me cry.
Let me cry.
Let me cry. Let me feel it.
Yeah.
You just stay in your space and I'll tell you when to come and cuddle me.
Absolutely.
Now just, let me just be.
Yeah, crying is one of the most natural ways in which we as humans, without a therapist, without a coach, it's inbuilt in us how we release that stress, how we release emotions. And it's a very healthy thing to do. Babies do it all the time. Babies are experts at it. Nobody stops them. Till that age, nobody stops them. Yes, we do try to figure out what is the need for that baby and we meet that need. We have to do that parenting for ourselves. So when we cry, we got to figure out what is my need and can I meet that need.
Agreed. And what about anger?
Each emotion, anger by itself does not feel pleasant. Whatever does not feel pleasant, the conclusion drawn by most part of the world is that that's not good for us. Now we can do a whole session on it, but just to touch upon it, anger is a very high energy emotion. It gives us a thrust of energy. Let's say I want a glass of water and I ask you to get it. And I say, Ashmeeta, can you please get me a glass of water? And you say, okay, I'll get you a glass of water. And you forget all about it. You start chatting with people. So I'll have a mild irritation starting within me, right? Now that goes on and on and on. And let's say you've ignored me for long enough and I'm already prepped for it. I can begin to experience anger. Now the question is, one, of course, is long term. How do I work with dissolving some of these emotions? But the immediate question is, what do I do with this anger? It's given me this extra burst of energy with which maybe I can get up and go get the glass of water. Maybe I was very tired when I asked you for the water and now I have energy thanks to the anger. You've seen people challenging themselves through anger. You've seen people achieving things through anger. I'm not saying it's the best of motivation, but it can immediately give you the thrust of energy. So understand one thing, you can use that energy or you need to release it. The last thing you want to do is keep it. That's where it plays havoc with your body and with your health.
What are some of the healthy ways to release anger?
Well, there are many.
Or in fact, any other stored emotions. If we talk generally, what are some ways to release these stored emotions? And what would happen ultimately if we keep them inside us for the entire lifetime?
Yes. So there are many ways, and I'm just going to mention ways which are not part of coaching sessions. So you perhaps don't need another person to hold space for you. Things that you can just do by yourself, and these are things that anybody can do. A very simple way, and that works for everybody, is to get a piece of paper, write down exactly how you feel. Not how you should feel, but exactly how you feel. Let's say I'm angry, and I'm angry at somebody that I would not want to walk up to and tell them. I don't want to hurt them. or I don't want to antagonize them. I want to handle my emotions myself. That's the first thing. You don't want to lash out at people. You don't want to lash out at yourself. So the first step is really you're going to handle it by yourself. Take a piece of paper, write down everything that's on your mind. So now from an endless ocean of being biochemically charged with anger, you're actually putting it down on a piece of paper. You poured it out. It's out of your system. You have expressed it. And that's all that anger requires. It's like a wave. It needs a release. Something as simple as that will give you a huge amount of relief. And then once you've done it, destroy it. There's no reason to keep this piece of paper. And then fill yourself up with the energy you want, whether it's love or it's affirming something beautiful like I'm taken care of, life is beautiful. Do that after you have released.
After you've released.
Yes.
And talking about what would happen if we keep it stored in our bodies for long.
You will become a human volcano. So there are so many things that can happen. You will lash out at people who are closest to you because that's where you have the license to be your worst sometimes. So you lash out at people, you will be having impact on your health, you will have impact on the energy that you emit. Therefore, what you will attract even more of what makes you angry unconsciously. So if you don't want to be, it's like being in a class forever, failing the exam time and again, and refusing to move into the next class. The question is, what do you want? Do you want to move to the next class? Then you release and create what you want. But if you want to stay put, be my guest.
So I heard it somewhere, in fact I read it, it was by Louise Hay. She said that anger is actually not a bad emotion. It's
Yes.
a natural emotion. It's a good emotion. So when is it a good emotion, or why is it not a bad emotion?
No emotion is a bad emotion. This is our judgment that is calling it bad. What feels unpleasant to us and those around us. I'll take up another example, jealousy. That's a controversial example. Everybody asks me, how can jealousy be good? So let's say I'm jealous of what you're wearing. So my focus is on Ashmeeta. I'm saying she's wearing such a wonderful outfit. I'm feeling jealous. If I simply ask myself the question, what is this emotion telling me? Now the emotion is telling me, I want this outfit. So can I get the outfit that I want? The whole focus moves from the person to knowing my own desires. And sometimes if we stay with that desire long enough, we'll realize we don't even have the desire. And sometimes we'll realize it is our deepest desire. So I can go ahead then and fulfill it. My jealousy has helped me know what lied buried within me. Similarly, all emotions are.
They're pointing at something.
They are pointing at something. They can be utilized. We get stuck when we label them negative. That's what keeps us stuck to them. Whatever you resist, it persists. You must have heard that. So if I'm going to judge it, it's going to stick. Simple.
That's amazing. So it was a pleasure having you today. I think we touched upon a lot of interesting, valuable points. So thank you for coming in, and we're going to do more of this soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Thank you so much, Ashmeeta, for having me here. And I love the work that you're doing. I really want to applaud this effort because you're spreading awareness, you're spreading sunshine into so many lives. Thank you for having me here.